Hello everybody! Hey, this is Mr. Severs. Obviously, again, I'm not here. And I am trying to make a video, and hopefully this time it works. I plan on it working. I will have a backup plan just in case. But let's hope that this works the way I think it should. And I need you to do a couple things for me. The first thing is, and I know you can't do this until, of course, you are already watching this. You would have already figured it out, but you have to follow the directions. Okay? In order for this to work, you do have to follow directions all the way to the end. So, more than likely, one of two things is happening. Either you are watching this and it is streaming through the internet, or the other option is you downloaded it because I had no other option but to tell you to download it. If that's the case, download it, and then as soon as you watch it and you get all the information you need out of it, delete it off the computer. And the reason I say that is because if you leave I'm not sure exactly right now how long this video will be, but let's say it's a 20-minute video. That's a pretty big file. It's going to slow the computer down a lot. So what I need you to do is delete the file. And to do that, you should be able to go into your files on the bottom, look up your downloads, and then it should be one of the only things that is there, and just delete it. That way it's completely off of it and we don't have to worry about it anymore. It may take a while to download, it may take a while to delete, but at least you got to watch the video. So, with that in mind, the other thing too is, of course, I do have a sub. I do not know who it is, but it is important that you treat them well. If I get a good report, I'll give you candy. Okay, that way you can, get something out of this. Also, let's see. If I catch you, if I got your name written down on the paper, that's not a good sign, guys. I want to make sure you know that. I will more than likely be writing you up for it, just because you treat subs better than you treat me. Me is one thing, subs are another. So don't treat my sub bad. Okay, so here's the plan. Here's the game plan for today, guys. It's going to be similar to what we did the last time. I'm going to review this NTI packet that you guys got, and I've already been able to get through most of it, and I'm not going to go through some of it like bit by bit. However, I will go through the main stuff, especially for the first part. I want to make sure we talk about that because I know it's a confusing concept, okay? So I'm going to break it down as basic as I can and then kind of build upon it, all right? So, and then I'm going to give you an assignment at the end. Again, it'll probably be one of those things where you just need to follow the directions on Google Classroom and everything will be fine. So, here we go. Now, so this is a crash course video. As those that were able to watch the video online, you guys are ahead of the curve, of course. Excuse me. You were able to watch it, and it was easier to probably understand what was going on. Because I know there was he was trying to be funny on a couple things, and it was kind of hard to understand if you weren't watching the video. So just be understanding of that. It might have been a little difficult to understand. But anyway, this is the transcript that is here. The video was much more entertaining, and I believe if you were to go watch it, it would be more beneficial to you. However, I get it. Not a lot of people have internet, so on and so forth. It's not a big issue. But you were able to read at least what he was saying in the video. And as long as you read the whole thing, which I know is a lot, he does use a lot of words in a short amount of time, you would have gotten the full effect of what was going on. So let me tell you what he's really talking about here. First, he is talking about what is called political ideology. Political ideology is basically the way you think in politics. So, for example, there are many different things that you can look at. Let me give you just a quick example, okay? Everybody is all up in arms at school because of hoods. Okay? We have hoods. So, here's the thing. On any given issue, you're going to have people that are on the side of should be allowed to wear it. On the other side, you're going to have the people that are going to say it doesn't matter. We shouldn't wear them in school. Okay? So, the people on the side where they're trying to support it are going to make their argument and their case as to why that is. Okay? And they believe that their way is the best way. On the other hand, you have the people that don't care and they think that we shouldn't wear them in school. Okay? These people think that their way is the best and they want to accomplish this goal. Okay? So, you have two roads. Right? Support or fight. In a way, especially on this issue, okay? So, the people, and I'm going to make generalizations here, but you guys can get me for it later. It's fine. The people on this side that are trying to fight for wearing hoods are either people that really, really like hoods, or people that are trying to go against what the school says. It's one of the two. And maybe there's another one in there. But like I said, I'm making generalizations. But there's a pretty big crowd in this one and I know this because I'm a teacher and I hear about it all the time. Because every time I get on to somebody, hey, take that hood off, some people just get upset and roll their eyes and do whatever they got to do. Okay? And they get mad. So, on the other side, you have the people that just don't care. They don't care whether or not, or they just believe that, or they feel so strongly that we shouldn't, that they will be willing to speak up about it. Okay? You also do have some people that are kind of stuck in the middle. And I'm one of those people where it doesn't really matter to me whether you wear, if you wore a hat, it doesn't really matter to me whether or not you wear a hood. But at the same time, I understand why we don't. Okay, so I'm kind of like right here. Now, that's an example, but it works the same way in everything else. Okay? So, you're going to have two sides to every issue. You're going to have somebody on the left and somebody on the right. And their ideas are going to go one way or the other on certain different topics. So that is what is called political ideology. And we have two different groups of people or that are kind of in that division of left or right. Okay, and they have the people on the right have a political platform that they want to make sure gets accomplished. People on the left have a platform they want to make sure it gets accomplished. And sometimes they come to the middle and meet in the middle. Sometimes they get as far apart as they possibly can. And it just depends on the issue at hand. So, we have the liberals and the conservatives. And they're on, like I said, they go left or right. And we're going to look at that here in just a second. But anyway, so it is important to know that because, and it's a good thing to have. Okay, it is a good thing to have different points of view because then you get more ideas, more heads usually come up with the best ideas, and sometimes they don't. But all in all, the main goal of both sides, if you want to, you got to really look for it sometimes, but the main goal of both sides is to give the people the best life possible in their country. Okay, so that is where they kind of have common bond, but they have different ways of doing it. I can go into different examples of that all day long. Okay, so with this video, okay, and watching it, there was a bunch of true or false. I'm going to just go through most. I'll go through most of them, if not all of them, and I'll probably just go real quick through it. So the first one says there is a 100% match between a person's political ideology and the political party he or she joins, and actually there is not. So that one would be false. And so You know, instead of it, there is a 100% match. I marked out there is not a 100% match. So, just because you may have a certain political ideology, but that doesn't mean that you're going to always meet up in the middle with the political party that kind of flows with. Okay, adjust my camera a little down. There we go. All right. Now, number 2 says someone on the right holds conservative views and someone on the left holds liberal views, and that is correct. Somebody on the right is conservative. Okay, they are, and we'll talk about what that means here in a minute. Versus on the left, you have liberal views. So you do have liberals on the left. If you hear somebody say their argument is far left, that means they're more liberal. And then obviously far right, it's a lot of conservatives. American conservatives, like the anti-federalists in the 1700s, believe that a large government is necessary to protect our individual liberties, and that is correct. They believe that we need a big government and not a small government. Conservatives believe that some basic functions like national defense are best provided by government, and that is true. A lot of conservatives support the military. A lot of the liberals want to get rid of a lot or cut on the defense because they feel like we spent too much. American conservatives believe that states and cities should be heavily controlled by the central government, and that the free market system is critically flawed because it does not do enough for the poor. This one I put is false, and it does talk about in the video a lot about defense and what we should do about that. Like I said, conservatives are really pro-military, and so they tend to want to support the military as much as possible. Conservatives generally also favor lower taxes, lower government spending, and traditional religious and patriotic values. That is true. Most people that are conservatives tend to be more religious, and they tend to have more patriotic pride. Libertarians are similar to conservatives, but they see even less role for government intrusion into personal lives. That one is true. Libertarians do want more or less government control into your personal life, and that's kind of where they meet in the middle with conservatives. American conservatives typically place liberty as their highest value, and that is true. Liberal policies in large measure grew out of Teddy Roosevelt's square deal policies, and that is false. It was FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So it was a Roosevelt, just the wrong one. And it wasn't the square deal, it was the New Deal. There was a such thing as a square deal, but we can get into that later, especially in American history class. Historically, liberals and progressives were not the same thing. That is, I put that in there as for the not. It does say were the same thing. It is false, and they were not the same thing. Because they have kind of flip-flopped how, progressives and liberals have kind of flip-flopped what their definitions are over time. But anyway, liberals support the idea of big government solving big problems. And I put this one as kind of true and false because there's a lot to say about big problems being fixed, but also it didn't really mention the solving big problems as, or big government solving big problems. It does talk about the economy though. So it kind of goes back and forth. Liberals, however, oppose government intervention to help disadvantaged groups such as women, minorities, and the poor. This one is true. The liberals do want to help these disadvantaged groups, like the women, minorities, and the poor. For example, a lot of the liberals supported the Black Lives Matter movement. Not necessarily that all conservatives didn't support it, but the liberals were more gung-ho about it and wanting to help as much as possible, more than conservatives. Liberals believe that the free market needs government regulation, since on its own it won't do enough to protect consumers and the environment. I did put true. So the liberals wanted to make sure that the markets are regulated based and say, like, there are certain limitations on what you can do in your market. Not necessarily, I'm not talking about like your supermarket. I'm talking like a market for steel or a market for lumber, stuff like that. They want to make sure there was a limit on that, so that we ended up not having a whole lot of monopolies. And so liberals believe that needs to be taken care of. Moving on to a progressive tax system is one of the one that favors the wealthy by offering them lower tax rates, and this is false. Progressive tax system is one that favors the wealthy or takes away from the wealthy by making their tax rates higher. So they actually want to make sure that their tax rates are higher. Liberals want to see big business be regulated and national defense cut to pay for more social benefits. That is true. They think we spend way too much on defense, and that big businesses need to be more regulated, like we saw in number 13, I think it was. Equality is one of the values most prized by liberals, and that is true. They want to make sure everybody is equal in society. And so that's why, like I said, they supported Black Lives Matter. They are very pro-LGBTQ, or whatever the acronym is now, because it changes all the time. But anyway, families and social group membership have huge influences on a person's political ideology. This is 100% true, because, like I said in the video, most of the time, liberals will have liberal babies and conservatives will have conservative babies. Not necessarily that they were born that way, like they were just born conservative, but more they live with the parents that, jibber jabber all the time about politics, and their views tend to seep into the brains of their children. I mean, as a lot of stuff like that happens. So that is a very true statement. Let's see. African Americans tend to be conservatives, while white Catholics tend to be quite liberal. This is actually false, and it is reversed. African Americans are usually more liberal, and Catholics are more conservative. A very reliable way to determine a person's politics is to look at his or her wealth level, and that is false. Just because you're wealthy does not mean you are a liberal or a conservative. You can be very, very poor and be, supporting the rich people in any party. You get the point. It doesn't matter what your wealth level is, as long as you have the same values that don't really pertain to wealth. Overall, women are more liberal than men are, and that is true, because it goes back to number 16, where they're very equality based. And we've talked about that in class before. As people gain more education, they tend to become more liberal on issues such as women's rights, and that is true. A lot of people, especially if they go to college, they tend to be more liberal. There are certain colleges that are more conservative, but there are a lot of colleges that are also just kind of right down the middle and kind of sway one way or the other based on what is going on. But more than likely, if you go to college and you stay in college for very long, you tend to be more liberal. Then the era a person lives through during adulthood can also influence political views, and that is 100% true. In the video it mentioned, like, if you were part of the New Deal, you probably were going to be more liberal because of the social benefits that came with the New Deal. And that was all government funded and everything, so that was a pretty big deal. Same thing on the other side, that there's a program that can, throughout history that people can be molded by, that shows that it is a good thing. for the conservative view, then there would be something for that. Okay, so that is my crash course thing. I ended up going through all of them. I just felt like we needed to. But this next one, the liberal versus conservative worksheet, it was pretty self-explanatory, but I want to go through at least, I'm going to go through one with you. That way I have at least something to grade so I can see whether you were picking up or what I was putting down. So basically what you were going to do is you were going to read on this chart what was going on, or what the ideology is of the liberals and the conservatives on certain issues. Okay? And then what you were going to do on this back page was you were going to put or write an example of something that a conservative or a liberal would do in reaction to those issues. So like, and I put taxes, gun control, immigration, and healthcare. So what would they do in these situations? Okay, I'm actually going to go through taxes. That way it's just the first one and I can talk about that. But let's go see what it says about taxes in this little bit. Okay, so it's on the back here, and it says for the, I believe this is the conservative view. I want to make sure, no, liberal. So the first column is liberals, the second column is conservatives. So let's see what it says. So for the liberals, they said they support higher taxes and a larger government. High taxes allow the government to do good and create jobs. We need high taxes for social welfare programs to provide for the poor. We can't afford to cut taxes. So they are pro-taxes. So you could put any example of something a liberal would do on this one right here when it comes to taxes. They could support a bill that they could support a bill that raises taxes. They may want to start a new welfare program that increases the tax rate so that they can have more money for that program. You can make up a whole different thing. Basically, how would they use the taxes if they were to bump them up? Okay. On the other side of the coin, you have the conservatives. It says they support lower taxes and a smaller government. Lower taxes create more incentive for people to work, save, invest, and engage in entrepreneurial endeavors. Money is best spent by those who earn it. So, in other words, people that sit at home and draw a check off the government aren't necessarily, in the conservative view, are not necessarily the best. That's not going to help anything. People that go out and earn their money by working, that's what they are all about. They want to get people out there and working. And so they support lower taxes. So they will come up with any type of tax break that they can to try to make this make the taxes go down. So you could say support a bill to lower taxes. Could say that there is a welfare, they want to cut a welfare program because the taxes on it have gotten so high. Anything like that, guys. So just come up with different ideas. I know there's like healthcare and immigration on here, and that whole thing, and gun control. Gun control is a pretty interesting one. There's probably a lot of different ways that they could react. So anyway, guys, make sure you turn this in by the end of the day. You can tear out what you need to tear out and staple it and put it, give it to me, and give it to my sub. That'll be just fine. But for now, I am going to. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you your instructions. I believe I'm going to have you. Or you know what? I'll surprise you. It's on the part B of this lesson. And so go there, read the directions, and make sure that you follow them and get it done by the end of the class. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was you're able to learn something out of this. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer any questions that you have. All you got to do is ask. Okay? So, with that being said, I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll see you tomorrow.